Don't bother stepping in my room tonight unless you're gonna work.
Work tells the story of a 17-year-old dancer who suffers a form of sexual assault on public transport, and it kind of charts her the rest of her day after that event, and kind of hones in on how that event kind of shifts her perspective on the world around her. I guess I've always been drawn to singular stories like that about one person and an event during their day, which kind of shifts their entire life in some respect, in the context of that moment. I'd also made 2 films which were very much about male protagonists with their male problems, and I thought it was high time to kind of branch out of that more comfortable seat and try and tell this, a story from a female perspective. So that felt intriguing.
Yeah, I guess my role as the producer is to take the script and Anil's ideas and his vision for the script, take how much money we've got for that, and then try and use that as efficiently as possible to put it on screen as much as possible, his idea for this film, give him as many of the tools he needs to make this happen.
In terms of what the writer and director does, I guess I wrote a script, tried to make it better and better with the help of Scott and Film 4. Film 4 were really brilliant with their development notes and that process. They're really smart, their notes about script were really, they really kind of articulated things which you kind of could feel in an abstract way but perhaps hadn't realised yet. There were those kind of good, juicy notes. But they also balanced that with this really respectful attitude of giving you your space, and they're a very sort of director-led.
The shoot itself was 4 days, and
which was quite luxurious for a short.
Yeah,
in comparison to the films we've made previously.
Yeah, that's probably the longest short that we've made together anyway. Started this whole process in around sort of September, shot in November, and then had the film finished by February, didn't we?
Yeah.
That feels about right.
Yeah, we actually had the script kicking around in June or something.
That's right, yeah, in the summer.
But there was a bit of a hiatus while we figured out, how we were going to make it, I suppose. And we were both doing other stuff. Yeah, once we came back to it, it was a couple of months.
Yeah, I think from pre-production it went in
full-time,
properly. Pre-production kicked off in September. Yeah, there was a bit of development work going on in the summer.
There was probably only a solid week of official pre-production.
Well, as in
maybe not for
you. I don't know
about
that. But and then funding. We were lucky enough that this one was funded by Film 4 entirely. Anil went in for a meeting about just future feature work and what he was up to, and we were already making a short at the time, and they were sort of keen to sort of make a short with us, and we had this script with no real idea of actually how we were going to make it or when we were going to make it, and we sent that to them, and we were lucky enough that they reacted super positively to it.
Finding such an amazing protagonist as Jasmine should have been more challenging than it was, but actually that was reasonably straightforward. So, we had the help of a really great casting director called Laura Mannering, and she, I think Jasmine was in the first batch of people that we saw. So that ended up being strangely straightforward, and I think she really makes that film, so that was very lucky.
But I'd say music was the hardest bit.
In terms of pre-shooting, that was a really tough one, because there is this very prominent music track in the film, which kind of tops and tails the film, and
it's all choreographed specifically to this track, so we couldn't just sort it out afterwards. It had to be in place before we shot.
And tonally speaking, it had to do a lot, and we must have listened to properly kind of hundreds of tracks,
and we had to be able to afford it, so it had to be something on budget that worked for the choreography, that worked for the 2 scenes which dovetailed a film.
In terms of the shoot itself, I think it's fair to say that the bus scene where the assault itself takes place was definitely a challenging scene to execute. We were on a moving bus for a start, with a whole crew, and Video Village upstairs, and doing this loop around Hackney for hours, And so there was the logistical kind of practical concerns of being on a bus, but then there was just the nature of the material and how sensitive that was and how challenging that was for a young actress to go sort of deep into that performance. Make a short film, you know, whatever you're doing, if you're doing music videos, commercials, whatever, make a short film, because that's going to show your individual approach to filmmaking. Try and make it kind of a pure vision of what you want to do with your filmmaking career. So I always think don't slip into the temptation of being like, oh, a good short film has a gimmick, or a good short film tackles this kind of subject. Or I think it's probably better if it fails a bit, but you've really tried to do something that's of you, than making a kind of decent one that's been seen about 80 times.
Don't shortchange your script writing process. I think it's a lot harder to fix a story in an edit than it is to fix it up front when you're writing. So a lot of people might have a tendency to just want to get a film made and get out and shoot it, but you have to really interrogate that script before you get to that point, because I feel like we've really benefited from having sort of the eyes and the expertise of the Film 4 development people on this project in particular, and it's great them flagging certain things which maybe we had overlooked at first, and working through those and getting that script super tight. And then when you go in and shoot it and edit it, all of that goes a lot more smoothly when you've figured out those problems up front, the story, narrative problems, rather than trying to just rush in and fix what's wrong with that script later on, because it's a lot harder and more expensive to do it that way.